Derealization is when you have a sense of things being unreal or fake somehow, almost as though you're in a movie instead of real life. Depersonalization is a particular kind of derealization where you feel that your own self is unreal. You feel alienated from your own self.
Like a coping mechanism that your brain goes through when it experiences a lot of trauma or anxiety or stress, or even just like sensory overload or stimulation that your brain just can't kind of handle, and it goes into this state of dissociating. There are two kind of ways that I can describe it that I've only ever been able to describe it. One is that it feels like I'm dreaming, like nothing is real.
Or you know that you and the world are real, but it just doesn't feel right. There's a sort of an uncanny feeling to everything.
The feeling itself has a lot of different aspects to it. It feels like there's a glass wall in between me and everything else in the world.
And generally, I would say that it feels like a numbness. You can almost feel the numbness, like physically, but also like mentally and emotionally, I would say.
It feels like you're in a house of mirrors and you can't quite get out, and you're like, and nothing that's going on around me is wrong in any way. It just all feels wrong. It all feels uncanny. It feels distant.
There's no way to really like put the whole thing in one or two sentences, but it's really, really, really hard to explain.
The first time I experienced DPDR is probably during my years of adolescence. At that time, I had no idea that such a condition even existed. As a matter of fact, I only know that for a couple of years now.
I was just about to go to college, and it was at the same time as a really profound depression that I entered into, and I didn't quite recognize what it was as distinct from the depression. My sense also is that it and depression chase each other around a lot.
I didn't realize until much later that this feeling I had was a thing that people have, that actually has a name, depersonalization. And then it turned out that I had this sort of feeling many times after that in my childhood, and continuing right up until pretty much the present.
I think a lot of the time the really extreme episodes come in times of high stress.
It is, in a sense, always a particular experience that comes at certain moments where stress has piled up or anxiety has piled up.
It's your brain's way of also taking a break. It's kind of thinks that you can't handle certain things, and in that sense, it kind of turns everything off. Since DPDR isn't really as well known as other things, there's not that much awareness about it in general. You're afraid that if you do tell people that they won't know what it is, and you don't want people viewing you differently.
I don't talk about my experiences with other people, basically ever.
I have talked to therapists before, and not many of them know what it is. Not many of them know what it is. If they do, they think like they just say, oh, that's dissociating. They don't ever say DPDR. They just kind of categorize it as dissociating. Yeah, when I kind of get the sense that like a therapist that I'm talking to doesn't quite get it or even know the term, it does feel kind of illegitimizing.
It kind of makes you not want to tell anyone.
So much of it is manifested by fear, and fear makes it very difficult to talk about. And so I have taken pains to speak more openly about it in recent times, not only because I think there's a lot of people who are probably experiencing this and didn't think anybody else was, but also, it makes the power that it has go away.
I suspect a lot of people have had these experiences, but sometimes they're not sure what to call them. They don't know how to describe them even to themselves, let alone to other people. But if you tell them about the experiences, then they will recognize them. So I think they actually are much more common than even the psychiatric literature might estimate, but that people don't even know that they have it.
The big change in the last couple of years for me was really just coming to understand how my brain was processing the life things that I was in.
It's almost always linked with external stress or anxiety that I'm feeling. So I try to pinpoint like what is going on that's making me feel anxious, and then that's making my brain like go into this state of dissociating.
And writing about it is a whole nother part of the process that also helps me come to terms with the experience and make sense of it and try to make it something meaningful for myself.
I would also say something that has also helped is when I am in that state and I want to fight it and I want to fight those feelings and ignore them, I found that kind of just letting those feelings flow and trying to accept them, even though it's extremely difficult to do so, helps in terms of kind of getting through it in the fastest way that you can.
That's not going to prevent you from experiencing the life you way want to experience it. It's not going to prevent you from loving people. It's not going to prevent you from any of that stuff. It's just a way of your mind establishing itself as different from things that it finds frightening.
I think in some ways it's made me who I am, I would say.
I needed all of this time and all of these experiences to really understand myself and to understand the world. When you first feel that the fear is going away and that you are really engaged with life again, I'm not sure I would trade what I go through for simplicity. I like that feeling of being like, I've struggled through this. The night has been unpleasant, but here comes the dawn. That's a great feeling. That's a human feeling.
I mean, it's part of who you are, you realize after a while, and it's something that you can see as a gift. That's putting a positive spin on it, but to me that's kind of the point of being alive, is trying to understand yourself and understand the world. And I think these peculiar feelings can be the beginning of that journey.